FBI browsing history. Okay, so I'll tell you this. So this there was something in the Senate recently. Honestly, I didn't even follow up on the I should start with the details first. Start with the details before I just lift into the stratosphere. Okay. In effort to protect Americans' browsing and search histories from warrantless government surveillance failed by a single vote in the Senate on Wednesday. The privacy measure sponsored by Senator Ron Wyden of Oregon and Steve Daines of Montana got 59 votes, 1 vote fewer than was needed to overcome a filibuster. The vote was over a section of federal surveillance law that was originally part of the USA Patriot Act in 2001. That provision, known as Section 215, gave the FBI the power to obtain any tangible thing, including books, records, papers, documents, and other items, without a warrant. Without a warrant. Listen, I'm not a tinfoil hat guy. I really don't like getting people riled up unless I have to. Our founding fathers are rolling in their fucking graves right now. Without a warrant, the FBI can surveil its citizens. This is a fundamental right that has been stripped from us. And frankly, it's extremely sad. And we already knew this, though. That's why I don't think this is a big deal. With the Snowden leaks, what the Snowden leaks revealed was that the NSA, that our government was lying to the American people, was lying to Congress. Senator Wyden was also involved in that. He was the one that interviewed General Clapper, who was running the NSA at the time, or high up in the NSA at the time, and he said, "We do not do bulk data collection on millions of Americans." That turned out to be a lie. Snowden revealed the United States government was lying to the American people. I think this is something that also doesn't get enough attention. The provision was only supposed to be used for foreign intelligence investigations, not ordinary criminal investigations. Civil liberties groups have long criticized it for its breadth and weak judicial oversight. Section 215 expired back in March, and the Senate is working on legislation to reauthorize it. The current Senate draft prohibits the FBI from using the provision to obtain cell phone location data, though the Supreme Court has already ruled that this information is constitutionally protected, so this may have little practical impact. So here's my thing with all this, and I honestly, I don't even, when there's new privacy stuff that's being discussed in Congress, I don't follow it. Because why? Here's my attitude, and I want to quote Edward Snowden here. Here's what he said recently. He tweeted this: "If you ever wonder where we're at on the dystopia scale, consider that it's normal to believe the government is spying on you and crazy to believe that they're not." Think of those conversations you've had around the dinner table. Think of the times you've joked with friends like, "Oh, well, the government knows everything." Oh, yeah. And you know what? You're right. That's absolutely an incredible thing that it's taken for granted that the government can look at everything in your Google account, everything on your iPhone, any text messages, unless you're using an end-to-end encrypted application. Signal by Open Whisper Systems is the gold standard here, but there's other ones like WhatsApp. Mark Zuckerberg gets a lot of shit, but delivering end-to-end encryption to over 2 billion people, he's done more for civil liberties than a lot of fucking politicians out there, than any politician, I would argue. It's a fundamental right to be able to communicate with someone without the government being able to snoop on you. So I'll tell you this: there's trade-offs to all this stuff, and you can say, well, shouldn't the government be able to get access to some of this stuff in case there's criminal activity going on? I'm talking terrorism. I'm talking about child porn. I'm talking about all these these really, really bad things that these encrypted networks allow people to they allow you to do whatever you want on them. So I'll say this: that Pandora's box with the Snowden leaks, the government had their chance. They showed that they didn't care whether you're doing something illegal. They didn't care whether they need to get a warrant. It didn't matter. They were collecting all this information on you no matter what, carte blanche. And it's absolutely absurd. So this is why I don't care what the government says about regular. I don't care if they made it illegal. If they already lied to us. If they said, yo, you need a warrant and we're going to pass this beautiful privacy regulation bill, blah, 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 fuck them. Fuck them. It doesn't matter. I don't care what they're going to say. They've already lied to us. These institutions that were sworn to uphold our civil liberties have absolutely destroyed them. And now I'm not saying that the NSA was doing, or the FBI is doing they're using this information to screw with Americans. I'm just saying the fact that they're able to get carte blanche access to this stuff is insane. So what do I focus on? The only thing that's going to bail us out of this is not regulation. It's not a fucking politician. It's technology. It's technology like end-to-end encryption. I use WhatsApp, and I use Signal, and I use Telegram. I use apps that are as much as possible that are end-to-end encrypted, and I don't back them up anywhere. That's the only way that I know that my messages will not be looked at. And you've seen Apple stand up to the FBI with some of this stuff. And one of the great things that Apple said was, they said, listen, the government has more information on you than ever in the history, of Fukin, governing. They have more information than ever in order to prosecute criminals. They've never had this much information on you with the amount of information your phone generates and all this stuff. There's no excuse on why Americans shouldn't be able to still be able to communicate privately through end-to-end encryption. And with this browser stuff, your ISP, your internet service provider, they're giving away all the government. I basically assume everything I have, and it's sad. It's extremely sad that anything I put on Google Drive or anything I communicate that's not end-to-end encrypted, where I don't own the keys, I assume the government can have access to it, and I assume that they will get access to it, and that's extremely sad. So what's the only thing I think that's going to save us is encryption, is things like end-to-end encryption, things like Signal, things like WhatsApp. These are things. These are the only things that are going to protect our civil liberties. That's also why I'm very, very interested in cryptocurrency. I'm very surprised that, a lot of people talk about, data protection, blah, blah, blah. And Europe had their general data protection, privacy, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter. None of that matters. It doesn't matter. The only thing that's really going to protect you is you having control over your own data, verifiably so. And that's what the cryptocurrency doesn't do that yet. But we have the building blocks here for a platform where you have the keys. Encryption is a beautiful thing. If you have the keys, not the best supercomputers in the world cannot crack that encryption. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. I think we're going to move to a world with cryptocurrency where somehow you hold your keys. And anytime there's going to be a Google or a Microsoft or maybe there's going to be a new company, or maybe it's Google or Microsoft, where you have to give your key, and then it gives you access to all your files, all your email, blah, blah, blah. But not even Google on their servers can read your stuff. Not even Google employees, Microsoft employees, Facebook employees can look at your stuff. And to be fair, Google has Google Duo, which is end-to-end encrypted, not open source, so you can't trust it 100%. But I take them at their word on this, actually. And same with WhatsApp. It's not open source, but I do believe that it's end-to-end encrypted. And there's a lot of proof with that. When there was lynchings in India based on fake news that was spread on WhatsApp, WhatsApp said, "Yo, we can't stop it on here." You see them on Facebook, the platform. It's like whack-a-mole. They're deplatforming people. They're silencing people. Same with YouTube. But on WhatsApp, they cannot do that because they don't know what is actually being sent. Not even the Facebook employees know. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. So the government fucking lying to us. It's not, excuse me. These bureaucracies lied. It wasn't the government. They lied to these senators. They lied to Congress. They lied to the American people. The Congress, our representatives, our senators, they represent us, we the people, and these bureaucracies lied to them. And they lied to us. So I'm not here saying, oh, all politicians are bad or anything like that. I'm just saying that the Pandora's box has been opened, and I personally, I don't trust that my data. It's not even that the government could get access to your information. It's also hackers. You cannot trust unless it's end-to-end encrypted. You hold the keys. You can't trust that a hacker or a government or a terrorist group or anything can get access to that data. It's a security thing. It's not just about keeping things from the government. It's about keeping things from everyone. It's about having the right to communicate privately. That's also why I'm so interested in cryptocurrency. Okay,